What's going on, everyone? So Christian Wood, what's going on? Where's he been? He's a guy that when we signed him in the offseason, was looked at as a real prize, right? It was this kind of almost competition. It's like, where's he going to go? Where's he going to land? And ultimately, he chose the Lakers. And it made a lot of sense, right? Versatile, power forward, center that could stretch the floor, give you 17 and 9 a game. And just, it was more so the versatility. Right? Like his ability to play alongside Anthony Davis, to back up Anthony Davis, to play alongside Jackson Hayes. Just those type of things were the kind of the multiple position players that can defend a little bit. I mean, he's not really known as like a lockdown defender, but he is good as like a help defender. He is actually pretty good at defending out on the perimeter, as we saw with like against Kevin Durant even. And there were this idea of like, oh man, you get Christian Wood, he can really have a impact and could be an X factor for the Lakers during the regular season and the playoffs. Now, as far as him being this like huge productive quality player for the Lakers, he hasn't been great this year. I attribute a lot of that to Darvin Ham and just the lack of utilization, which we'll touch on here more in a moment. But we finally got an update in regards to Christian Wood. And it's not a great update. So Christian Wood, per Adrian Wojnarowski, ESPN sources with Dave McMenamin, Los Angeles Lakers forward Christian Wood will undergo an orthopedic procedure on his left knee and is expected to be sidelined for several weeks. The Lakers' final regular season game is April 14th. So he's very likely missing the rest of the season. He hopefully will be back in the playoffs. It depends on, one, if the Lakers make the playoffs, two, where the Lakers land in the playoffs, and three, how far that they go, right? It's possible that he could miss the first round of the playoffs. Maybe we get him back for the second round. Maybe we get him, somewhere in the middle of the playoffs. Look, we could use him. Again, I know he hasn't been the greatest for the Lakers. I know a lot of Laker fans have been kind of down on him. And the narrative is like, he just doesn't have what we need him to have. But again, I attribute a lot of that to Darvin Ham and his lack of utilization for players. I have talked about this heavily with Rui Hachimura. Just Rui Hachimura has been able to adapt and overcome that, playing alongside LeBron in the offseason, right? You saw Rui go, hey, like, I'm going to need, if I really want to get some quality minutes here, I'm going to have to play the 3 a bit because LeBron's playing the 4, and so he kind of adapted his game. Christian Wood hasn't had the opportunity to do that, right? And Darvin Ham, it frustrates me with Christian Wood because he was a guy that was like, oh, he's a 6'10", 7'2" wingspan guy that can come in, be versatile, right? A guy that you can dump the ball down to. He can go to work and generate offense for you. Oh, and he can stretch the floor and knock down the 3 at like a 38% clip. Those were all extremely valuable traits. The problem is Darvin Ham has utilized him as basically a perimeter wing, and he's not that. Instead of looking at it as like he's a guy that we could dump the ball down to and is basically a bucket and a mismatch down in the painted area, Darvin Ham's looking at it as like, oh, he can shoot the 3, and on occasion he can go and play around the rim. It's not good when you're a 6'10" power forward center that now is just basically playing like you're a 6'7" wing. I don't like how he's utilized. There's so many times where the offense has been stagnant and Christian Wood is out there, and it's like, just put him on the block. Dump it down to Wood. Let him go to work. Let him, use his versatility and try to generate some offense or create some contact and get to the foul line, right? But instead, it's like, no, you're just going to stand out on the perimeter. You're just going to shoot 3s, right? And then when he does get 2s, it's him basically putting his head down, putting the ball on the floor and getting to the basket, basically like Rui Hachimura. But same thing with Christian Wood. Rui Hachimura, he's best on the block. The other difference, too, is Rui is a big, burly, lower center of gravity type power forward that can, when he does put the ball on the deck, can kind of bump the defender, use his size and his strength to get to his spots, get to his position. Also, his mid-range is like elite level, like literally. He's in like the 75, 80 percentile as far as that goes. So he's like one of like a handful of guys that are like just absolute snipers and money from the mid-range. Christian Wood, it's not really his game. Yes, he can hit the mid-range. He can knock down the 15-footer. Yes, he can knock down the occasional three. But he's not a guy you're looking to just primarily play out on the perimeter. And so I'd like to see him, if he gets back this season, kind of on the block more. My hope is that that will be the case once we get to the playoffs, because the Lakers, like we saw last year, will run a more inside-out game. Like even last year, all year last year, they ran, 1 in, 4 out. But once you got to the playoffs, it was a lot like inside-out type game. You had LeBron and AD basically down low, and everything was being funneled through them. My hope is that that's kind of what they do with Christian Wood and his versatility. And depending on the matchup, Christian Wood could be huge. You play, say, like an OKC, right? Like, I believe Christian Wood can match up with Chet Holmgren, right? Like, he gives you a little more versatility. I trust him a little more. I love Jackson Hayes, don't get me wrong, but you see the inexperience at times from Jackson Hayes. He's kind of more just an energy guy. He's a guy that isn't really disciplined on the defensive side at times, kind of get into foul trouble. Right? If you play, say, even Denver, like last playoffs, Denver a lot of times would just go and put Aaron Gordon at the 5 and then have like a Murray, KCP, Brown, and Michael Porter Jr. out there or whatever, right? And Jokic would be on the bench. If you do something like that, I actually like Christian Wood in that matchup against Aaron Gordon. Right? He doesn't have the athleticism and, the foot speed, but I do think at 6'10", with the size, his length, his ability to kind of stretch the floor and bring Aaron Gordon out of the paint to where LeBron and AD and stuff like that can do it. But again, you got to find the nice, proper balance. And to me, that's on Darvin Ham. Right? And he's done it with other guys. Spencer Dinwiddie. I've expressed my frustrations numerous times on the way that Darvin Ham just utilizes Spencer. Right? We got one of the biggest needs we had was a playmaker and scoring threat off the bench. And you got that all in one guy. And instead, what does Darvin Ham have him do? Relegated to be a spot-up corner 3-and-D guy. That's not his game. That's not who he is. He's a guy that's 17-9 assists as opposed to rebounds, but he's an excellent playmaker. Put the ball in his hands and let him make some plays when D'Lo and LeBron are on the bench. Right? It's just, again, it falls into the utilization. I honestly, because I do think the Lakers will ultimately get rid of Darvin Ham in the offseason, I actually hope Christian Wood sticks around. Right? I hope that, because he has a player option, so he can stay another season. I hope that we get, a competent coach that understands, how valuable Christian Wood can be, and he sticks around, because I genuinely believe Christian Wood can be a valuable piece. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be a 17-9 guy, because he'd be off the bench, he'd be, the 7th guy, but I do think he could be a 10-5 guy off the bench, which would be great, or a 10-6 guy off the bench. I don't think that that's out of the realm of possibility for Christian Wood. And so I would love to see him kind of just get another run, get an opportunity with somebody that maybe sees a little more value in him and has a better understanding of how to utilize him. Even this season, he's averaging 17-5, right? And that's in just 17 minutes a game average in a limited role. He's taking, to put this in example, he's taking 5.3 field goal attempts per game. 2.3 of those are from three-point range. Literally. What is that? Half? Half of his field goal attempts are coming from threes? That highlights my point. Basically in a role in which is about as bad of a role as it could possibly be for him, and limited inconsistencies from playing time and production, he's still giving you 7-5. Imagine if he was in a proper slotted role and was utilized the proper way. Imagine what he could do even in limited minutes, even in 17 minutes per game. I think he could be, again, at least a 10-6 guy. So, anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass a question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts on Christian Wood? Do you agree with me? Like, yeah, he's just not being utilized properly. What do you make of the news of him being out for probably the remainder of the season? Is that discouraging for you? Or are you like, no, it's okay? Again, how do you feel? What your thoughts are? I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. Helps me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.